Timestamp. Wait. Timestamp. Timestamp. 3 timestamps. And I haven't even said anything else yet. Alright, so I just got done doing a view or a showing of some of the deluxe components and the upgrades specific to mind management and what mind management does, what it gives, and over the retail version is what I'm saying. And so that's really what I'm doing right now is I'm just showing only right now 2 of the games that I have, mind management and now the title that you've probably already read, Dune Imperium. And I'm showing you what the upgraded components give to the game and maybe what they don't. So this is Dune Imperium, designed by Paul Dennen. And this is a bigger box than what it actually came in. And part of me, until I actually get the expansion and put it in here and store all of it in here and don't have another box, until then, this feels like somewhat of a waste. It's a big box, and I'll show you why it feels like a waste in a moment. But I'll also show you the cool stuff. So this is the big box of Dune Imperium. It is the Deluxe Upgrade Pack. And this is not something that goes within the base box. This replaces the base box by giving you a much larger box. Woo. So, same kind of, not blah box, but kind of blah. It's, it's not visually gonna take your breath away. So, I've got the rules in here, solo play, and then a nice little piece of holding card stock that doesn't do anything, but I keep it because I'm me and I have issues. Timestamp. So the first thing that you'll notice when you're looking at the box, and I can kind of show you here, is that there's a plastic insert and the board itself nestles in there. It's kind of locked in by ridges, and so the board doesn't really move anywhere whenever you put it in at the end of this. So the board is locked in, which is nice. Once you take the board out, you've got the first main section. And so in this first main section, you have pretty much all of the new components. All the old components kind of nestle into the rest of the boxes, which I'll show you momentarily. But so typically and this is, a kind of locked in plastic lid, shuts down, locks it up. Things that are new to the game in terms of aesthetic components, you have a first player marker, which in the regular Dune is just a plastic token. I think I actually have it in there somewhere, but I'm not really interested in getting it. In the retail version of the game, you're going to have kind of a red tinged with gold, styling on the main worm and sunbeams around it. And in this deluxe upgrade, you're going to get this chunky, thick, heavy metal token that's kind of bronzed with, some black shadow detail, in the paint or in the coloring. So it kind of makes it, it makes it look aged, it makes it look distinct, but it's a chunky metal token, and this is the first player marker. And then, I don't know if you've played Dune Imperium or if you're just watching this without the context, but Dune Imperium is a combination worker placement and deck building. And the worker placement, you specifically have 2 agents that you can upgrade to 3. So for example, if you've played a game of Lords of Waterdeep and you have a certain amount of agents for the first half of the game, and then you unlock, for the second half of the game, an additional agent. In this, you are locked away for sure at 2 agents. And you can upgrade to 3, but you have to physically take the time to upgrade them. So what they've done here is there are, 4 different agent miniatures that reflect the 4 players. This is a 1 to 4 player game. And so you've got somebody who looks kind of like a Bene Gesserit almost, that female clan. And then you've got a miniature that looks like a Fremen with a Chris knife, which I know now because I've watched the movie and started to read the graphic novel. So you've got kind of a Fremen there. And then here you have almost like an Imperial figure. It could also be another Bene Gesserit, but this looks more like the Bene Gesserit to me. So I think this is more like an Imperial figure. And then you have here a definitely Imperial figure with their kind of Sadukar. I think Sadukar might be the name, but a military outfit. So these are the 4 miniatures. There are 3 of each. You can see them nestled into their particular spots. So you'll use those to mark where you're going. In the retail version of the game, which I have all the retail components in here, and maybe that will be helpful for comparison. Let me see. There's that. Here we go. So in the retail version of the game, this is what your agent typically looks like. And so in the upgraded version of the game, it turns it from a custom-shaped wooden meeple to a plastic miniature. So for many of you who think that, cool, a custom-shaped wooden miniature is all I need, totally valid. But there were certain reasons why I particularly purchased this. Number 1 was custom card sleeves. Number 2 was I liked some of the miniatures that I saw here, and I was interested in extra space that would also hold the expansion. Because I don't like having multiple boxes for one game, even if there's an expansion involved. So upgrade from a wooden meeple to a plastic miniature. That's change number 1. Number 2 is, let's stick with the color orange, is in the game of Dune Imperium, whenever you, and this allows you to lock in your color. So you've got little plastic bases, so you can say, hey, this miniature is the color orange this game. But you've also got wooden cubes, and these wooden cubes specifically denote your combat attribution or your combat modifier, like the amount of troops that you're bringing into a combat per round. And in the retail game, they're just wooden cubes. That's all they are. And this is actually a valid criticism that I think some people leveled at the upgrade pack, which some people saw as a valid thing, which is myself included, and some people saw as a unnecessary cash grab, which is valid. I would say that a lot of deluxification in board games is able to be classified as an unnecessary cash grab, but you do you. So instead of wooden cubes, in this version you have miniatures. So once again, miniatures, plastic miniatures that replace wooden cubes. And so here you go. That's the difference that you're going to get between the retail and the deluxe upgrade pack. Now, I think the valid part of this is not the fact that it's miniatures at all, but the upkeep consideration that you're going to be changing out those cubes every single round, and changing out wooden cubes is one thing, but physically maybe having to manage and change out miniatures is another. It's not one that I think is ultimately going to bother me, but it's totally valid. So you've got miniatures that replace your agents, and you've got miniatures that replace your combat cubes. Those are kind of the main replacements, I would say. But an additional one that does exist, let me see if I've got them in the right section. I think they're maybe in this one. Yep. So here you go. Here's another one of the replacements that have been made. Wait. Timestamp. There are no timestamps in these because I'm just rambling. Timestamp. But I like inside jokes. And so some of you are going to have inside jokes with me. Woohoo! And here's actually a better choice of replacing all of the deluxe upgrades. So, I spoke to you earlier about the upgrade token. So that replaces this. And I think I've got them both oriented the same way. So, red rimmed with kind of a tannish gold interior, and then, a more bronzed, stylish metal coin. Cardboard, metal, upgraded. And then this is the Mentat, which if you've played Lords of Waterdeep, it's one of my favorite worker placements, so it's why I'm referencing it. This functions similar to the Ambassador, which gives you an additional meeple to work with. And so that is replaced by this miniature in the upgrade pack. So custom wooden meeple, plastic miniature. Decide what you care about more. Totally valid either way. The other things that have changed are the faction alliances. So in the retail version of the game, you're going to get plastic or cardboard tokens, and these signify the person who has gone highest up the track of these individual factions. You've got the Emperor's faction. You've got the Bene Gesserit. You've got the Spacing Guild, which are the people who send ships across the universe, and then you've got the Fremen on the planet Arrakis. I know all of these names so much better now that I've watched the movie and I'm reading the graphic novel. So these indicate in the retail version that you have an alliance with those people. And this is probably out of all of them the one I care about the most, specifically because it's hard to tell when these are spread out around the table who has them with a quick visual glance because they're flat. But these are replaced by miniatures in this version of it, in this deluxe upgrade. And so you've got this really cool Queen Mother or Reverend Mother for the Bene Gesserit. This replaces this one. Then you've got the Spacefarer or Spacing Guild or Spacefarers Guild, Spacing Guild. And so this is the ship model or the engine that propels ships across the universe. Ships go inside here, and then this fold engine activates and folds space, and they pop into another part of the world. So this replaces this one. And then this one is the Imperial symbol. And these are the Imperial Sardaukars, or the elite fighting force of the Emperor. And so this is replaced by this. And then finally, this is the Fremen symbol. These are the people of the desert at Arrakis. And that is signified by this miniature. And also it's pretty cool. You may not have noticed because I wasn't facing them the correct way, but if you're looking at them top down, you can actually see the symbol that they belong to on that, which I think is pretty cool. So this is probably, to me, one of the better upgrades, specifically because if somebody has this in front of them, it's so much clearer to the rest of the table that they have that allegiance. So in terms of gameplay or decision-making ease, that's probably the one that makes the most sense. But once again, it really just comes down to a matter of preference. So that's the upgrades that you get there. Okay, so that's kind of most of the upgrades. The other thing that I will talk about that I think is valuable. Now I just got to remember where all these people go. I think these guys go there. I think this guy goes there. I think she goes there. And I think that goes there. First time's the charm. So the thing that matters to me almost as much as some of these miniatures is the fact that you get custom sleeves. Now I will say this. I don't know if I sleeved things improperly. There were one or two replacement cards, but that shouldn't have made the difference that it did. But what this upgrade pack gives you is, if I care about a game, if I care about it and I've played it enough frequently. There are some games, since I've been reviewing, I've played some games only once or twice in the context of since I've reviewed them. And because I'm playing them at relatively infrequently, I haven't gotten to the point where I've upgraded their sleeves. This is a game that as soon as somebody says, I want to play Dune Imperium, I'm okay, cool. That's what I want to do tonight, is if you want to play this, I want to play this. So they had custom sleeves with art on the back that, so you can see the card and then you can see the custom artwork on the back. There were two options. Number one was this kind of space view, and number two was the worm, the titular, sand worm in the dunes. I don't know why. Almost in retrospect, I feel oh man, I should have gotten the worm one. But I kind of like how clean and simple the backs of these are, with just the moons and the planet for Arrakis. So you have custom art sleeves for a lot of your cards. The thing is, it doesn't actually give you sleeves for all of the cards in the game. which which bugs me. That's probably my main critique about this is, for example, I have card sleeves I have not used. And I have not used them because they don't fit all of the remaining cards. And if I can't fit a certain type of card, I don't want to sleeve it a partial amount. Which, let me know if that's stupid and like unnecessarily OCD in a non-sensible way. So there weren't enough sleeves to sleeve the AI deck. So I didn't sleeve the AI deck because I want enough sleeves for all of the cards that I have. So I don't know where I went wrong, but I don't have enough sleeves for the cards that are in the base version of the game, which is something like, I haven't actually even looked it up to see if other people have had the same problem. I'm assuming they did because everything I got felt stock. But that's something I'll look into at some point. But I do love the fact that I have custom sleeves for this card game. Once again, because I want to take care of the cards, because with a deck builder, you're going to use the cards a lot. You're shuffling every single time you go through your hand, you're taking new cards from the deck, you're shuffling the deck. There's a lot of card use in a game like this, and so I wanted sleeves to protect them. I'm at the point where once the expansion comes in, I feel like if there's a possibility, I'm just going to order extra sleeves until I have everything. But it's a little bit of a disappointment. When you spend like $50 extra on not the game, just a way to upgrade the game, I kind of expect that I'll have enough to sleeve the physical game that I've already got. So that is probably my biggest complaint about the upgrade box. And then the second complaint is these are all new components and there is space for them. These are all of the cards currently, not counting the expansion, and there's space for them. These are just where I've randomly slotted the Solari, which is the money, the spice, which is the resource, and the water, which is the most precious resource, especially in the desert. And I do kind of love that there is a imprinted artwork on the boxes that if you orient them the proper way creates an artwork or an illustration or an impression. But okay, so this fits the cards and this fits those components. This fits the different faction or people that you can be, which are, I actually like these a lot because you pick your character and then whichever ones you don't pick function as the player references on the back. This should be a thing in all games, and this is not me just talking up Dune Imperium. There are plenty of games that do this, but this should just be standard. If there is a component that is one-sided that you use in your game, and there's enough of them that you can use the flip side of them for player references, why not? Burnt Island does this with In Too Deep. You have the criminals that you use, but you don't use every criminal every game. So the criminals that you don't use, player references on the back. So, anyways, you have this. And then these are all of the physical components that almost all, yes, some of these pieces have been replaced now by the miniatures, the colored miniatures, the combat miniatures, and the player agents. Some of these aren't used, though, or aren't replaced, which means they will be used in the game. But this is cavernous. And, for example, if I got to the point where I wanted to streamline and I wanted to get rid of the stuff that had duplicates, and I decided to get rid of these wooden pieces, this would be so much space for not a lot of stuff. Which I don't want to say is wasteful, but maybe wasteful. And then the last section in this box is this, which is just, it's got spaces for cards apparently, and spaces for other stuff. But these, for example, like I said, all of these except for the Emperor tokens, almost all of this is replaced in this. So if I decided to get rid of this, these wouldn't need to be in here. And then these are the conflict and intrigue cards, which especially are too small to fit in here. These are full-size card slots. And then the rest of these sections, they don't fit in them. So technically, these don't have a place that they go that I have been able to see, unless they maybe slot in there. I guess they slot in there next to the other cards. So regardless, even if you take into consideration everything I said, you can move these components over here. That's fine. You move these cards. But so that's the thing, though, is these cards don't have sleeves. And this is something else that kind of bugs me a little bit, is they sleeved the big cards, but not enough for all of them. And then they didn't sleeve the small cards, which you still shuffle these. You still use these. And, you know, I kind of purchased custom sleeves. I thought that there would be sleeves for these as well. So that's kind of a couple things that bug me a little bit. But all in all, I mean, I don't know what the expansion is going to fully add. I've already pre-ordered it because I love this game. I don't know all what it's going to add, but I'm kind of like, is everything in here going to be filled by the time I get the expansion? I kind of hope so, because one thing that I hate more than unnecessary organization is unnecessary space. So as you can see, though, that slots really nicely, which I appreciate. So I would say this: if I had to, you know, I just did a video earlier tonight on mind management, and if I had to rate that deluxe version of the game, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I love it. If I had to review just the upgrade pack, not Dune Imperium. I love Dune Imperium. If I had to, review just the upgrade pack, it would do okay. It would do okay. There are things I like about it, and there are things that I don't like about it. But that's just to give you an idea of what's in the upgrade pack if you're curious about it, because it's a big box. People like big boxes. It consolidates everything. People like consolidation. It gives you nicer things. People like nicer things. And it should have enough room for the expansion. Should. Which people also like. But there you go. I mean, I think that's everything. Timestamp. And I think that's where I'll end this. So once again, I'm sorry. I don't have a top down. I don't do B-roll. I'm just at the point where I'm trying to get videos out there. But hopefully both of those videos gave you some context or some additional information that can help you make an informed decision on what you want and if you want something. I don't think either of those are essential, but I do like both of them for varied reasons and varied amounts of happiness. Cool. Bye.